All right. First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege to be here. My name is Philip Akut. I'm from Kaduna State here in Nigeria, but I work in Kano State. I have a first degree and a second degree in international studies from Ahmadu Bello University and Bayero University in Kano here, respectively.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started into this episode.
Also, I'm a customer care specialist. Been doing that for about 7 years now and counting. And then, of course, being a student and a scholar of international studies, of course, we first of all get grounded in domestic politics first, and then the history of our nation and about so many things at all in our country. And then it gives us a better view to discuss and understand the global political space much better. So that's what I represent a lot today, right now.
Okay, all right, Mr. Philip. Tell me a little bit about your childhood, because here in this podcast, we pay a lot of attention to that because this is our history. This is who we are. Also because we concentrate a lot about African diaspora, even though we also care so much about Africa, which is the mother continent. For this reason, talking about our childhood, where we are coming from, is particularly important. So please help me with that.
All right. So for my childhood, I grew up in Zaria, which is a part of Kaduna State, Nigeria. A humble beginning. My parents were, my father was a non-academic staff with ABU, that's Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. So grew up in the quarters, attended staff school, I was in the minor seminary, hoping to be a priest, finished up and then changed plans again. Went on to study international studies in ABU and finished up. And then took a long time before I went for my master's again here in Kano. So growing up was, I grew up largely under, I grew up under the military regime in the 90s. So just the Nigeria of that time was, of course, much, much different from Nigeria under the civilian regime and all that. Even though I was little back, I remember a lot of things. The military governors, the decrees, the fear of the military men and all that. So that constitutes my childhood a lot. I didn't do too many adventures living in the staff quarters in Ahmadu Bello University, but yes, we still have stories here and there. But pretty much everything went smooth. My childhood, going to the minor seminary, a boarding school, thinking of being a priest, and then change plans, and now we are here today.
Wow, you wanted to be a priest. So what stopped you from continuing with that line?
Yeah, so I ended up not graduating from the minor seminary. I left in my SS2. So I went to a mixed school with ladies, which was new to me because I was used to sitting in a classroom with only boys for 5 years. Now I'm in a classroom with ladies, and sometimes there's no permanency. Sometimes they want to sit close to you, and I was very shy growing up. So I can't concentrate when a lady is sitting beside me.
I see where the confusion was coming from now.
So all of that, and then in a way I became a lady's favorite, and then I was like, no, we may not end up becoming priests anymore. Like,
anyway, you did well. So you're going to tell this story to your children. I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of laughter that day because it's very interesting.
Yeah, I really wish, like, I now, funny enough, I'm somebody that I grew up with a lot of ambitions. And I feel I won't force them, but maybe in a way, having children, I may advertise and market these ambitions to them, hoping that they will help me fulfill them. But if they don't, I'm not going to knock them for it. I'm not going to put pressure or force them, but I'll just show them. I wanted to be a footballer. I wanted to be a priest. I wanted to be, so all these things I wanted to be, I would maybe showcase it to them, hoping they find interest, and then I add my support to it. But if they don't, it's fine. So
that's good. That's good. That's interesting. That's interesting. All right, now let's come to the conversation that we have today, which is about the story of Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, who actually was the first, actually the only prime minister that Nigeria ever had. Because of course, after that, the Nigeria structure changed. Now we have a fully presidential system of government, but then it was a parliamentary system. So in this episode, we're going to be looking at the person of Tafawa Balewa, who he was, what can we learn from him, what are his political agenda, because this is how we review our history. Who is this personality to start from? How do you see him?
Okay. So for Sir Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, which is his complete name, how I personally view him, it's a Pan-African leader, right? Of course, our first prime minister in Nigeria. And for the large part, he was somebody that was trying to manage peacefully ethnic and regional rivalries, added with our colonial master still hinged to Nigeria, even though we're independent. So he was trying to manage all of this peacefully without being dogged and very stubborn in achieving what Nigeria wants to achieve as at that time. So a lot of people, all the things I've said now, a lot of analysts have chosen to call him in this light. They call him weak-willed, or he didn't have the strong will to galvanize Nigeria to the vision that he was having for Nigeria at that time. But for me, I think he was just trying to manage everything peacefully, hold everything in one piece, all the rivaling parts, just make sure that everybody gets what they want and there's still peace at the end of the day. So that's how I see him largely.
All right, that's fine. Okay, later in the conversation, we're going to be looking at him. Okay, his vision is okay, and also the opinion that people have of him, and what are his legacy, because that is actually what we are talking about him today. We are trying to look at his legacy and what we as current Nigeria can learn from him and people like him. All right, now let's go back to his childhood. What do we remember of him growing up? Tell us something about his background as a young boy.
Okay, so Sir Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, he was born in 1912, right? December 1912. That was just 2 years before the amalgamation of what we have Nigeria right now. That's the northern and the southern protectorate of Nigeria. So that was the period he was born, 1912. He had a very humble background, unlike most of our politicians in the First Republic as at that time. Most of the politicians you see in that time, most of them didn't have that quite humble background like this personality we are talking about. So he grew up very flat, very humble background, no rich uncles or rich parents. His father was a district head. He was a clerk to a district head, right? So he never had privileges of any sort. The only thing he could afford was just the basic Quranic school, Then from there, the next best thing, because they saw that this person was very intelligent, they now tried and just made sure he attended the Katina College for the education, which is currently now called Balewa College in Kaduna, So basically, he was very humble, quiet background. There's no much, you won't hear so much about his antics when he was little or as a kid. He was just a loyal, cool, and straightforward person growing up until he went into that college. That was where things changed, because there he met people like Sir Amadu Bello, met people like Abubakar Imam, and then all these things now influenced him into becoming the greater person he became.
In his young adolescent years, is there anything that we can talk of, maybe relating to anything that he might have done or people have done to him, like his friend? Of course, before he became a politician, a popular person now, I'm still looking at him as an ordinary person. Is there anything that we can look at? It can even be his friends. Maybe, I don't know, they go to a party or they have fun. he had a fight, anything that we can look at. Can you share with us?
For him, for Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, because of his very cold background, he didn't have an adventurous childhood growing up, even in his adolescent stage in life. And he was not somebody that had any ambition towards politics growing up. He never thought of leadership he never thought of leadership or politics or being in front. He never thought of putting himself in front to lead. He didn't have any special leadership positions like a class captain or a senior prefect, or he never had any of those. He was just another kid on the block. No troubles, no stories, no very familiar or unfamiliar reports about him like that. He was, not to use the word non-existent, but he just everything was so quiet about him. And you would see that even in his political career and all his activities over the years, but he never had there was no controversy, no special adventure. At least maybe we could say that was recorded about him so far. Mm-hmm. But he never had any, just a normal, easygoing child growing up, even at his adolescent stage, avoided conflicts, resolved them as soon as possible. He wanted peaceful coexistence. He wanted harmony at all the time. So that was what he represented even while growing up.
Mm-hmm. So he wasn't a type who could make trouble in the society, but he grew up in the colonial system now, because at the time that he was a child or a young adolescent, Nigeria was not free yet. Nigeria was still pretty much under the British system. Okay, it's true that we are looking at Tafawa Balewa as a person today, but is there people that we could make a comparison to him at the time who maybe at his age were vocal, were already outspoken about or against even the colonial system, which he did or he did it?
The only people you can compare to, maybe people like Aminu Kano, right? Aminu Kano was, of course, he had a separate upbringing with Tafawa Balewa. His background was not as humble as Tafawa Balewa, so he could already speak out against what he terms injustice or unfair, or he was already vocal. His political style he was austere, but he was vocal. He was more in front. He was not afraid of being controversial or being dogged about pursuing his visions. But unlike Tafawa Balewa, he was somebody that literally almost played by the book. No cutting of corners. He was not too vocal. He wanted to solve issues and make sure everybody is at peace. Meanwhile, somebody like Aminu Kano just wanted the right thing to be done, even if somebody would be hurt. So if you look at their politics at par, and then even his boss now, his boss now, Sir Amadu Bello, he too also wanted peace, but he was more dogged and more unafraid to voice out his visions or aspirations, than Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. So even though he could see all of this, but he just remained himself all through. He never felt like, okay, let me switch and be like these people in order to achieve he just maintained the same status quo. His person is his person all through, him till his assassination. So that's the kind of person he.
All right. Now, do we know anything about his family at that time, or even after his death, that we can make mention of, so that after that, of course, soon we'll be moving into him personally. But do we remember anything about his family and maybe his children?
He had a wife and 3 children, and pretty much his kind of person. You won't see so much about them public. And then, of course, being a northerner with the Islamic religion and culture settings, they don't easily put out their, in the open like that. So you won't hear so much about, and I was very interested about this particular topic because, truly speaking, Sir Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa is somebody that is not spoken well enough about. Like, you can hear more about Sir Ahmadu Bello very well. You can hear more, but when it comes to the first Prime Minister of Nigeria, you won't hear so much about him, considering the kind of figure that he was and what he represented, being the first Prime Minister of Nigeria ever. Still, you won't hear so much about him like you hear about Sir Ahmadu Bello.
Is there a reason for that? Why we are not speaking so much about it? Instead, people are paying more attention to maybe people like Sir Ahmadu Bello and other eminent politicians?
Well, I will give my opinion as the reason. He was largely seen as how do I put it? Not to use the word a puppet. He was largely seen as somebody that was doing the bidding of his master. And his master was, of course, Ahmadu Bello, who was his Sardana of Sokoto that time, and who was he was more tipped to be Prime Minister of Nigeria ahead of Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. But he chose to remain in the north because he felt he has more work to do in the north. And then he felt, I would rather push my contemporary or somebody I believe so much. And he's largely been seen like somebody that was busy doing the bidding of his masters, such that he was doing the bidding of the north through Sir Ahmadu Bello. And then they also felt, a lot of Nigerians and his contemporaries felt he was doing the bidding of the colonial masters also, even after independence, because they felt he was not, especially at his independence speech, where he was regarding the colonial masters first as masters, then as leaders, then as partners, then always as friends. They felt like he was not too quick to detach from them. Like, he's still doing their bidding. He's still not, Nigeria didn't become a republic in 1963. They felt he was very slow and just being too much. So people don't regard him as a very strong-willed person in terms of galvanizing Nigerian unity. And so they just seemed like this guy was just busy trying to soft pedal and please his masters and just play along. So maybe it could be reason why people do not up to now give him so much regard as even his predecessor, his boss rather, that's Sir Ahmadu Bello rather. So that really affected him.
All right. Now, you are in Kano State. In Kano, yes. How do people look at Alhaji Tafawa Balewa? I mean, what is the common image of him among the Kano people?
Okay, there is respect, there's admiration, there is the wish that he lived out his tenure as prime minister. Then, like, they still wish that he was not assassinated. They wish to have seen him accomplish all he had before he stepped down or something. So there's still love and respect and admiration, and some politicians also wish they could run their affairs in his style, in his legacy, right? So there's no backlash against him at all. He's still highly respected and honored, except for the fact that, of course, he's not from Kano State, he's from Bauchi State. So they will feel that in as much as we respect him that much, he's here as a state to honor him more than us.
This is a simple Nigerians, the kind of image we want to have of him. How did he rose to prominence? I mean, can you tell us anything from how he rose from just ordinary Nigeria to the personality that he eventually became? Because becoming the first prime minister of Nigeria is not a simple calculation to make. So help us understand that.
All right. So for him now, initially growing up, he, just like I told you, he had no political ambitions. He was not looking forward to politics initially. After he graduated from the Katina College for Further Education, which is now Balewa College, when he graduated, he came back and started teaching in his state, in Bauchi State. Already, he was teaching in the middle school in Bauchi. Then he got selected for a 1-year course at the University of London. He went there for a year. and came back. And when he came back, he was still just interested in teaching. Then he became inspector of education. He was appointed inspector of education, then Bauchi State. Now, while he was doing that, he started picking interest in politics. He formed a small, let me call it a circle now. He formed a little circle where they discussed political reforms. Like that was where he started. That was the beginning of his interest in politics. So he formed a circle where they discussed political reforms in the north and then in Nigeria at large. Now, it was while he was doing that he was selected to become a part of the Bauchi State House of Assembly that time. Then from there, as soon as he entered there, he was now selected again to join the Northern Legislative Council. From there, at the center now. So going to the center, that's the central government of Nigeria. It was from there that, people started saying, okay, this guy can actually, with the backing of Samuel Bello, he became a minister of works. That was around 1951, about 52. He now became minister of transport again. Then from there, that was where he now, they ran the elections. NPC, which he also participated in formulating, they started as NPC is Northern People's Congress. They started as a cultural organization, later galvanized into a political party. They now put him up as their flag bearer for the prime minister position, and then he now won. So that's how he rose gradually. He initially just wanted to be a teacher and just be around the education circle. But gradually, people saw that he could lead, he was loyal, he was no double standard, and then they kept selecting him like that. So that's how he rose.
Thank you so much for that, there, Philip. So now he went to London for a training. Yeah. Okay, his personality now is very interesting to understand. Now, if for those who want to sort of understand how politics function, particularly the African politics is a complex situation altogether. No. He is going to be the first prime minister of Nigeria, taking over from the British. I want to understand how the consensus was made. Was it really representing the Nigerian people in terms of what they wanted, the freedom from the colonial master, or he would sort of go in between, okay, try to do the will of the master, like you already pointed out, like most Nigeria will accuse him of? Because it's not a very simple thing. Now, if Nigeria had fought a war, drove out the British, I think it would be a different ball game altogether. But if you are going to sign a contract to be free now, I don't understand how much that we can actually refer to that as freedom. Please help me with that.
Okay. So this is a very interesting part of the conversation and the question you're bringing up. Now, truthfully speaking, just like you said, signing to be free means that there will be conditions to what you are signing, truly. And just like you said, if we had fought to be free, if we gained our independence by armed struggle, just like some other African countries, I doubt so much if we will still select or elect Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa as our leader, because we are going to look for somebody that is going to really stand and push off any colonial linkage or any form of. We're going to get somebody that will just put the colonial masters away and focus on Nigeria as a whole. But then the British colonial masters, they enjoyed a lot of they enjoyed a lot of fluency when it comes to their divide and rule policy in the north. What I mean by that is, while they were in the north, they didn't encounter so much resistance like they encountered in the southeast and the southwest of Nigeria. In the southeast, they met resistance down till independence. In the southwest, over time, they yielded, but they encountered very strict resistance to the British colonial system. But in the north, as soon as they were able to capture the emir, that's the sultan now, and just by any means make him buy into what they had. He already conquered the North. And so when they came to the North, they already had an existing political system as a monarchy that everybody listens to. So if you are able to capture the monarch, you have captured the people. So when they did that, they enjoyed a lot of liberty and everything. And so when they were leaving, they felt it is best we hand over power to these people so that we can still have access to them. If the Southwest and the Southeast have been difficult to conquer and rule, the North has not given us problems. So if we have a Northerner as the leader of Nigeria entirely, which is including the Southeast and the Southwest, we can still have our way a lot. So all this contributed to how they made sure by any means the British colonial masters wanted to make sure at least the North should have power so that we can still have access. And they wanted to do it using the Sardona, which is the greatest political and spiritual head of the North. He was Sardona, he was Premier, but he was like, no, he wanted to be in the North to, organize. He just felt he had more to do in the North, or rather, let's have Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa go to the center. So all these things help to build up how Abubakar Tafawa Balewa became the flag bearer for MPC instead of Sir Ahmadu Bello. And then with their population, and they're able to have a coalition with NC at that time. It broke off, and then they now switched over to the Southwest. So with all of that, this brought the emergence of Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa as the first prime minister Nigeria ever had.
Now, I'm trying to see if this idea of looking for who we can control to run the system is something that will be inherent in the Nigeria political structure, as it were. Now, we look for somebody that we can control, so he's there. So the British also, they think they are very intelligent and very smart in that they just hit our head against each other. We are fighting. Yeah. If that is a war that will break out today, we are going to blame it either on the North or on the South. Nobody is going to think that somebody is actually there just manipulating the people, no? And this manipulation has been going on for a very long time before we even got independence, no?
Yeah.
So at the time of independence, Abubakar becoming the prime minister, what about those people that have been voicing, that have been very outspoken against the colonial system? Because we can see now that it didn't last quite long, no?
Okay, so you mean other nationalists in the struggle for independence?
Yeah. Those that were very outspoken about independence of, because Atode Nahoro, of course, will be the first to move the motion for independence. He is coming from Oromi, my town, about that we want to be free, because we just need to be free, not puppet for the United Kingdom, which of course that is what the Nigerian system still remains today. We look at it that we are just serving them as slaves, as it were, no? We need to be a people, we need to be free, we need to make our own politics and run our own system. This was not done then, it is not done now. So we are talking about it so that we can do it tomorrow.
Okay.
Help me with that.
Okay. All right. So as at independence, despite various nationalists that were clamoring for independence, very vocal, very outspoken and dogged, the British felt, okay, they felt, just like you mentioned, being very smart and politically ahead, of course. They felt, in as much as we are not going to hand it over to the most outspoken, to the most vocal, to the most, to those who are struggling the hardest. No, we will not do that, because they will fight us the hardest. They will oppose us the hardest. They will push us further from achieving that manipulative agenda that we have already. So don't give it to these guys making the loudest noise. Number one, of course, they are more educated, right? Education came into Nigeria from the south, southwest, and all these parts before it came to the north. So there were more educated people in those parts than in the north. Hence, you could see why they were clamoring more for independence ahead of the north. So don't give these guys, because with their education and their loud outspokenness, if they say a word like that, they will use it against us. Don't give them. Give to these guys that are already normal, they are cool, they are agreeing. Now, when we do that, we are still going to tell those that are very vocal about independence that we've given the independence. It is your person now that is ruling, that is in charge. So you can't keep clamoring for, you are now in charge. And so some of them got positions in the government as at then, but not just that primary seat, which is the prime minister. No. So they had other positions just to calm them down. Okay, the north, the south, in the central government, in the legislative council, like that. So they just use the whole independence to just silence everybody or make sure that they were still running with the agenda of putting a northerner they can easily manipulate. So that was what the British, just like a blanket solution, but their main agenda was still running.
Yeah. It's evident. It is seen there, no? Again, I want to repeat. We appear that we are fighting, no? We have nothing to fight about. We are brothers. We should be able to organize ourselves. But we don't need somebody that is coming that be telling me this is what the Hausa said to the Igbo. This is what the Igbo said to the Hausa. Between the Hausa and the Igbo, we can talk. We can communicate. Let's look at our common problem. Let's solve it. We can do that. If we have a good leader, I always say, if we have a good leader in Nigeria, the question of who is Hausa, who is Igbo, will be irrelevant because it's not really. It has always been irrelevant because we don't have a good central that cares for the component, that the component are falling apart. Then we're okay. Yes, me and Yoruba. In other functioning society, you look at the nation. The only flag is the flag of the nation. Of course, we can speak different languages. That makes us even richer now. But those languages are not minus. They are not defects. They are advantage. They are not negative. They are positive. But the fact that in Nigeria we have a lot of languages, it should not be a problem. It should actually be a richness to the nation. All right, now, Tafawa Balewa, he has become the prime minister now, or in the preparation of becoming the prime minister of Nigeria. What do we know of his vision of the country? What does he wanted to do? Because now that you become the prime minister, you basically have the mandate of the people. So tell me more about that.
Yes, so for him, for Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, during his administration as the first prime minister of Nigeria, he was going through the difficulty of settling very stiff ethnic and regional rivalries as at that time, because immediately our nationalists, immediately we got independence, right? We now fell back to our regional sentiments. All of them, none of them was executed, so to say. Immediately we got independence, everybody fell back to their regional sentiments and interest and bigotry. So there was high suspicion against this region, was suspecting this region and all that. And it was heating up the polity for Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Now, this is internally in Nigeria. If you look at Africa, he was still battling with, he was still trying to make Nigeria have a voice in the independence of other colonized African countries. Because he was also a Pan-African leader. He also helped formed the OAU in 1962. He was very, very instrumental. So he was having that to deal with, and then balancing the interest of the West. So you see, these three things were the things that were bedeviling his administration that he was trying to balance all at the same time. Internally, they were very stiff regional rivalries. The North doesn't believe the Southeast. The Southeast had their issues with the Southwest. The Southwest is saying, forget about the Southeast. And all of this came into bear when he was prime minister. Samuel Akintola and the Southwest, very serious issues. In fact, he was even blamed for not handling the crisis in the Southwest with Samuel Akintola and Awolowo's at that time. He was blamed largely for not willfully, shutting down all of that, all of the issues going on down there, and which also people are blaming that it resulted to the coup that led to his assassination. So he had a lot on his desk to deal with. The rivalries within regions here in Nigeria, the political sentiments that our nationalists had, that was surprising, because you would see that before independence, we looked united. Like we had the same enemy, we had a common enemy, the white man. We're trying to achieve independence. So it seemed that we had a solidarity of purpose. This is a common enemy, and this is a common goal we're trying to win. Immediately we got the goal, everybody fell back to there. So it was a political shock, though not totally, because some of these things started bearing themselves before independence. But after independence, we're like, no, but this time around, we are the ones ruling ourselves, but these sentiments seem to be higher. So he had to deal with that shock, and then while balancing the interest of the West in Nigeria also. So he was for unity largely. He was for political reforms. He was a sincere Democrat. He was trying to hold everything together and see that we are all brothers and we can resolve this together and forge a better Nigeria that we have always clamored for from the white men. But unfortunately, this never came to bear, as the issues seemed to rage him too much, more than he thought he could bear. And then, of course, before the coup d'etat in 1966, so all of these were the things that he had to deal with that time. Yeah.
Can we see some evidence of his decision to really unify Nigeria and make Nigeria an independent state? Because an independent state is not simply a replication of the colonial master, where the only difference is that the person who is the leader is a person that looks like you. That is not what independence means. Independence means far more deeper than that. It needed to do with the determination of how we are going to even speak our language. In Nigeria, you and I, we are speaking English now, no? But we could have actually decided how we want to speak our English, for example, just to start with, no? I know we have our Naira, I know we have the military and all that, but the way that we organize this thing, we're supposed to be different. Of course, again, if we mean what kind of independence do we have? Is it the one that will just go to sign with the Queen, or the one that will tell the British that is your way out, like the American did, so that we, among ourselves, we can decide how we want to run our system? Because up until recently, we still need to ask permission from the British. Can we be free? Can you? Because nobody is going to give you freedom. You cannot be. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen anywhere. I back down a little bit, though.
Yes, I can see you're already getting heated up. So
yeah, no, because we need to be sincere to ourselves. Because the thing is, it's hurting us. No, look at a nation like Nigeria. Look at the suffering, the poverty. This is not supposed to be like this, because there is so much that we are not telling ourselves. What can you tell me in terms of evidence to show I'm not saying that just for this few years that he was in power, he will be able to do everything. That is not what I'm saying. But at least the proof on ground to show that we really wanted to be an independent state, the people who can be their own, that can lead themselves without necessarily becoming slave to the British.
For Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, considering his kind of person, even though he had the deep-seated in him this independence, this sovereignty, this autonomy to, govern ourselves, self-governance, self-determination as a people, as a country. We have a constitution, we have, he had all of that. But it was his approach that is being criticized largely, because people felt he was very soft and loyal to the colonial masters to a fault. Nigeria got independence on paper, 1st October 1960, but we never became a republic until 1963. No. What's the difference between being independent and then becoming a republic? It was in being a republic that we got actual self-determination. It was in being a republic in 1963 that we actually severed ties with the Queen of England as being the supreme head over Nigeria. It was in 1963, not in 1960. All right. So it is still, since it was under his regime, we can say that yes, in as much as we are independent, but we are still connected to the British and all that, people felt it was slow, but it was still an achievement, making sure that at least, whether on paper or in reality, that we are not before 1963, even after 1960, the Queen of England was still the highest, she was still the supreme head over Nigeria. So anything she does not approve or approves will not or will happen in Nigeria. So he had to deal with that carefully as he can, not affecting any party involved, both our past colonial masters and then here in Nigeria, and achieve that status of being a republic in 1963. It was major for us because even parts of our constitutions were amended from that time, which is still part of the things we've been amending till now, But that actually gave us a lot of autonomy to do a lot of things, even though not totally, because we're still fresh from colonialism, The Queen no longer, we stopped giving reports to the Queen. We stopped giving the colonial masters any form of reports from Nigeria. Everything started coming from Nigeria. We could discuss a budget, we could discuss laws, it was from 1963 that it started. So this is largely attributed to Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa in terms of trying to see that we get this autonomy and sovereignty as a nation state, which is Nigeria. Then a lot of people still blame the fact that because he never got to complete his tenure as a prime minister, it was cut short in 1966. We didn't get to see the best of him, but this was one of his major achievements in terms of our independence is concerned. That 1963 Nigeria became a republic, cutting away ties from the Queen of England as the supreme head over Nigeria. It was a major achievement for us beyond just the independence on paper that we got in 1960.
All right. Do you think there is anything Tafawa Balewa could have done to take Nigeria to a different direction, not only to his assassination, but to a different kind of Nigeria that we have today? Because I know now it's not a simple thing. To lead the people is not a simple situation. I'm not by any means, not even an iota of 1 second to say that it was easy for him. This is a delicate situation. You need to play power. Power are very complex, to deal with. But okay, he is the leader. I cannot call my mother for this discussion. So do you think there is anything that he, as a prime minister, both as the figurative prime minister in 1960 to 1963, and from prime minister from 1963 to 1966?
Yes, I think there's a lot that he could have done. I think there's a lot he could have done. Just like I told you, he was loyal to a fault. The saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely and all. He didn't have a turn on somebody like Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa because he still largely remained himself, from being a teacher to be a vice president with the Northern Traders Association to being a member of he was still the same. And what do I mean by the same? He was a loyalist. He was he maintains status quo. He's not in, he loves reforms, but the reforms should not be, they should not be gotten through armed struggle and controversies and clashes. No. If the reforms will be achieved using those means, he may most likely not be interested. So it made him not being very, very firm in resolving that conflict in the Southwest that ultimately led to his assassination. Like, you have issues that you have some ways that you're hoping to resolve them. If you're not achieving them in that way, and there's another pattern that maybe you do not like, but it's also valid in order to achieve those, go ahead and apply it. Apply it. You are prime minister. You are choosing Nigeria is a large country. There was no time when Nigeria was small, even as at that time. And you could see that the rivalries were thick. People were, so if you are not very firm, it's going to affect your leadership style and your pattern and your legacy altogether. So that's what happened to him. He had a lot of ways. The achievement of the republic we had in 1963, he could have done that earlier than then. We could have cut ties with the British before then. He could have resolved the conflict in the Southwest much, much better than he did. There were several other policies that he had that he could have achieved. He could have creation of states, balance of power from the center to the regional units. He gave too much freedom to the regional powers. They were doing a lot. They are even advocating for a constitution that will give the center less power and the regions more power under Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. So because he's not somebody that was not very, very firm, it affected him. He was largely trying to please his northern, of course, he was trying to defend his northern interests and his roots, and of course, his superior, Sir Abubakar, Sir Ahmadu Bello, and then the colonial master. So it affected him. He didn't end up achieving his personal visions for Nigeria. He did not.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Of course, that is a very important part, that of having a semi-autonomous in the regions, because that is where we see development really try to have real meaning in Nigeria. But the Nigeria we have today, after we have this multiples of state and the institution that we have, I'm talking of the laws that we have that govern Nigeria in terms of over-concentration of power at the central government. Has it really helped the country? Is never going to help the country because the central is too powerful. The region do not really have any saying. They are sort of begging the central to help. So I think if the state, for example, were competing for who can bring the first state in Nigeria to develop electricity, to have stable electricity, it will not take less than 10 years. Nigeria, there will be electricity all across the country. But if we want the federal government to do this, he's still the one that will build the road. He's still the one that will take care of the education. He's still the one that will take care of the police. He's the one that will take care of the defense. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. There has to be a clear distinction between what the federal can do and what the state can do, what the locals can do. Everybody cannot just be stretching hard to the federal government, give me money, give me money. Where are you going to get the money? Just from oil? The production of oil doesn't require so much people to develop. So if you are a little bit selfish, you can leave the population to waste because you don't need them really to extract oil. What you need is just few people to do it. But say, for example, we are asking the state to develop themselves. The state that don't have oil have other things. They need to develop it. If you have agricultural land, develop it. Pay tax to the federal government. But now, we are just concentrated on petrol. Because that, to the federal government, is where they get all the money. From there, it disbursed to other people. Turning Nigeria to lame, as if we are just broken hands, we cannot do anything. So that idea of making semi-autonomous that was proposed, I think, by the first prime minister, could have been a very fine and intelligent thing to do in Nigeria.
Yes, let me add before you go.
Yes, please go.
All right, I'll add two things. Now, firstly, the advocacy for autonomy that time, regional autonomy, and it was not, it looked like it was a good thing, looking at it from how you're saying it right now. But at that time, it was highly suspicious. It was very suspicious. It was looking as though these regions just wanted those autonomy that time, so that once they become strong enough, they will break out. That was the suspicion that time. So if you are giving them this autonomy, like they will get so strong, they will later start acclaiming to themselves sovereignty of a state. So, and in doing that, Nigeria as a whole will not hold because you've broken parts of the Nigeria. So the most noble thing to do as at that time was to make sure that in Nigeria was, and how do you strengthen Nigeria to become what it is, like every please, every part of Nigeria being together as one, is to have a stronger central government. The moment the regions are stronger than the central government, they will want to break out. Evidently, after 1966, after his assassination, Aguiyi came in, 67, Gowon came in, and then the Civil War. So, and what was about the Civil War? Ojukwu was saying, no, I want to break over, because the regions were strong. If you had added more powers at that time, they would have broken up even earlier than 1967. They would advocate. So that was the suspicion they were trying to be like, no, don't. Let the center be strong. Now, coming to...
I like it. Go.
All right. So coming to Nigeria, when you look at our federalism, we copied our federal, largely. The Nigerian constitution is imitated after the US constitution, and also their kind of federalism, except for the fact that their central government is still more powerful, but their states have larger autonomy than the Nigerian states. That's the difference, So we are saying that yes, we use their constitution as our template to form our own and all that. Yes, but we made sure that, because for Nigerians at that time, keeping Nigeria as a country was more important than giving the regions autonomy or greater strength. Keep the center first. Keep Nigeria first before you talk of strengthening the regions. So that was why you saw this was what influenced most of their political ideologies at that time. Just make sure Nigeria is one first. Just make sure Nigeria is one.
I say again that I am for one Nigeria. I am for, in fact, if it were possible to align Nigeria so that they can include Ghana, Guinea, all of them, Sierra Leone, to be one super West African country, I am in for that. But the question is, doing that should not be at a disservice to the component, the state, the individual people that make up the country. And again, country using the Western standard, sometimes it is very tricky for us.
Yeah.
Because if you look at empires, now the empire of Mali, I think it was, according to some historian, was bigger than the whole of Western Europe put together. Now, it is it's not like Nigeria is too big. No, Nigeria is not too big as a country to be run by one person, a president. The question is, the way it is structured today, it's not working. We can see in evidence that Nigeria is not functioning. Okay, I'm not saying we should make the subordinate, the state, more powerful than the federal government. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to reduce the power that the federal government had and make the state more powerful than they are today, not to be more powerful than the federal government. Of course, all these things can even be very simple to understand, like policing. In Nigeria, we don't have state policing and local policing. But in many other parts of the world, like, for example, in the country where I am today, in Italy, there are federal police, there are state police, or if you call it regional police, that is the local police. The reason for this is very simple also to understand. If there is a criminal in Kaduna, you send in the police that is coming from Edo State to come and police that place. It's not going to work, because the policing is not just, I have a gun, I tell you, I will shoot you. No, there are a lot of techniques that are involved in it. I need to know you down to the language you speak, to the code of your operation. And the way to do this is by you policing yourself. Because if I am from my town policing my people, where are you going to hide? You have nowhere to hide. And this also has to do with the taxing, how we do our tax revenue, the collection of the revenue. You have a project, you are going to generate a part of that budget, the money. The Fed, depending on what type of budget is it, the Fed can add to it. That is what is happening in many other places. It's not a rocket science. Because, like you said, no, we are trying to copy the United States system of federalism. But their own federalism is not that everything is we are just waiting for the Washington to do everything. No. So states have law. Tax is different. The way you pay tax here is different from New York. It's different from the way you pay it in California. There are certain autonomy that they enjoy. That is how they develop. Otherwise, we cannot just have a blanket development for the entire country. It's not going to work. We are not all the same. Yes, we are the same. But again, we are not all the same. We must have our ambitions. But of course, the state doesn't have military. There is no state that have military. Of course, nobody agitated for that. Only the federal government controls the military. Border, the federal government is in charge of that. Of course, if the state were to even have police and the local were to have police, then there will still be federal police operating within the state. The state controls the information that go out of the federal control the information that go out of Nigeria. So you can't possibly succeed if the federal doesn't want you to. Nobody is going to do that. It's not going to happen. So that fear, okay, that is justification for it. But it doesn't really hold as we see it today.
You said a lot, and in everything you have said, you have mentioned the issue and you have mentioned the solution inside, right? Very perfect. Just the little thing I want to add as a student of Nigerian politics, African politics, and then of course professionally a student of global policies, which is international studies. There is the very easy and tempting, spirit to always, which is okay. There's something we call comparative federalism. You compare states, countries, governance, and the style of government. So we are most times very how do I put it now? We are most times very, very quick to compare Nigeria with these advanced countries. And most times I used to tell people, yeah, it looks as though, but it's not for all cases, because the Nigeria, as somebody that studied, I won't say I've studied all countries, I've studied a lot of countries and all that. The Nigerian situation is the most complex, is the most complicated, is the most peculiar, you've ever come across. Across the face of the earth. I can say, you can search something, I don't know if it's anywhere online, but I don't think there's a country that has more ethnic rivalries, not just ethnic presence, not just multiple ethnic presence, and rivalry and suspicion, that can hinder their development and their political cohesion, such as Nigeria. So if you pick the US or Italy or Germany or the UK to compare to Nigeria, most of the time, you may not get it right. Because the peculiarities that bedevil Nigeria cannot be solved by comparing us with these countries. Why am I saying this? I am somebody that, this will be very funny to say. I believe Nigeria, I love the country, I'm a Nigerian, and I love it, But due to my studying of Nigeria, our history till present date, I am one of those few Nigerians that feel from study that the entity we call Nigeria was not meant to be. And that's why we're having these issues. I feel like we were juxtaposed forcefully just for colonial exploitation, not because we are cohesive, like not as if we have a cohesion as a nation state or as a people that can thrive best together. I really don't think that was why we were brought together. I just felt the colonial master just put us all together so that they can easily exploit and all that. So since they did that and then they left and then they now call us a country and everything, we are having difficulty still finding an identity that favors everybody inside Nigeria.
All
so
right, I like that. Yeah, sorry. Okay, go. This is very beautiful. I'm going to come to
that. So this is a foundational issue that we may be suggesting a lot of solutions, right? I know there are other countries too that have ethnic diversities and came together and still conquered. Yes, I get that. But for Nigeria, it is very, very deep. It's deeper than those countries. America has a lot of very, very diverse, maybe more than Nigeria, so to say, because America has every race, almost every race and every tribe is in the US. And if you look at their motto, they will tell you, "E pluribus unum," from many, we became one, which we are talking about the fact that this diversity should be a strength other than a weakness. We have seen this in other countries, but not in Nigeria. The rivalries, the sentiments, the suspicions, the diversities, the things pulling us apart are more than the things. We have a lot of things pulling us together as a country that makes us united and all that. Yes, I know. But it seems the things pulling us apart are much, much more. It's not just, I think it's even beyond just our politicians. I really think so. It's beyond, yes. Let me just stop here.
Thank you for that, dear Philip. You see, I want to believe, and I think I know that we are human beings. Yeah. And human beings resolve problems. Yeah. If what you have described is a problem of Nigeria, which means the diversity in multiple sense of it, that is a problem. If we as Nigeria are finding a solution to that, there will be a solution. Because you look at the human body, it's not made up of one thing. It's made up of multiple things. The eyes, the nose, the mouth, the hair, the sensory organ. The brain is made up of multiple elements. Yet it still functions as an entity, no? So I believe that you are right. We didn't come to be because of cohesion, because we love ourselves. That is true. But this is what it is now. They set up Nigeria for the purpose of exploitation. That also is true. But are we not human beings? Are we not supposed to be mature enough to, at a point, take hold of our destiny and ride our boat, the destination that we want? We can do that. Of course we can. Come on. The problem is not because we are too different. You are in Kaduna. If I were in Nigeria, I would be in Edo State, Uromi. If we don't say to any person that you are in Kaduna from Uromi in Edo State, to the person looking at us from outside, it will appear that we are just close neighbor. Whereas Kaduna to Uromi is a very far place. What I mean is that thing, our diversity can be a problem, but it can also be a solution for us. In that, right now, I'm in Italy, you are in Kaduna, you are in Kano State, no? You can help me to see what I don't see in Kano State. I can help you to see what you don't see in Italy. That can be an advantage for us. Yeah. So the fact that we are different is neutral. It is not bad or good. It depends on what we make of it. I think this is where we need good leaders, people who are visionary, people who are able to see opportunity in difficulty, people who are able to understand that we don't all need to be the same for it to function. We can be different. We can be male and female. We can like and dislike. We can disagree, yet we can still function as a people. That is what I believe. This is why we need people who understand this so that they can run the system. You see, the United States is still, or today, is still far more populated than Nigeria. What about the Roman Empire? These things still function. So it is not because we are too big. It is not because we are too diverse. It's not because we speak different languages. All this cannot be the problem. The problem is our inability to yet decide that we want to solve the problem. Therefore, we don't know what the problem is yet, if that is the case. I believe sincerely that if we are making effort to solve our problem, the problem will be solved, because human beings do that for being human. The question I want to ask you so we can move forward is Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. What do ordinary people remember of him?
Of course, most notably, he was our first prime minister of our very first republic. That's the most outstanding feature I remember about Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. He was our first prime minister of Nigeria, and then he was an astute politician and a leader. He was loyal. He's a sincere Democrat. Right? He believes in freedom of the opposition. The majority have the say, the minority, like to the core. He embraced people from every part of Nigeria, as it were. He never discriminated. He was not controversial. He didn't create problems. He was sincere. Like, one of the biggest legacies about Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was the fact that his intentions were genuine towards Nigeria. He always wanted political reforms and the unity of the Nigerian nation state. those were the things that he firmly represented, and he didn't want to be misunderstood about this particular aspirations he had for Nigeria. So as much as he was trying to do other things like defend northern interest or be loyal and everything, he still wanted to be largely remembered as a very sincere Democrat, firm to his words, loyal to every agreement or every set agreement that we have, and all that. So that was what he stood for. This is what he's largely remembered for. One of our soundest and very sincere politicians that we have. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Now, what can you say about his assassination? That also is very important. This is a human being. He has a family. He's the first prime minister of the country, and he was assassinated. That is very sad. Tell us something about that.
Yes, his assassination was very, very, it was a very sad development in Nigerian history, because it was very, very uncharacteristic that we just finished fighting for independence and then we are beginning to kill our leaders by ourselves. It was so contradictory. It was contrasting. You want to wrap your head around it. But we're not the ones that just finished gaining independence, not up to a decade. And then the first self-governance that we have by ourselves, we go ahead to assassinate and stage a coup d'etat and say, we want something different. So it questions what we really want as a nation. That time, it questioned our aspirations or ambitions or what we actually want to represent. Now, his assassination happened at the time when the coup plotters thought they were trying to assassinate all top politicians in Nigeria at that time. But in the history books, you see that there was what seemed to be like an error. The northern leaders, northern leaders in the central government were assassinated, leaders in the southwest were assassinated, but the ones in the southeast were not, so, and then it ushered in a military head of state that came from the southeast where their political leaders at that time were not assassinated during the coup. So it raised further suspicions again as to, okay, is the Southeast trying to prove that they have another agenda apart from the common agenda we had in assassinating all these political leaders that we had? So it now prepared another counter coup again. So his assassination was it threw Nigeria into a serious turmoil. It questioned our aspiration and our ambition as a nation state, as a country, Nigeria. Like, what do we really want in government? What's our aspiration? Him as a person representing the North felt like our leaders were assassinated. Abubakar Tafawa Balewa and then Obehi Podcast. Like, these are the two pillars that we had in the central government and at the regional levels there, but they were assassinated. So his absence meant a lot. His assassination was very, very shocking. It questioned our existence, actually. It questioned our aspirations as a country. Looking at, he never caused any trouble, and then that assassination. So largely, that's how it's being remembered up till date.
And there are consequences for that assassination, for that death, no? Do you think there is anything that he could have done to avoid this scenario? Because it actually led to a different trajectory for Nigeria. And actually, we are suffering from it today, 2022.
Not much in his power. I don't think there was a lot he could do in his power individually that to avoid the coup d'etat, because what we could count as his error, or what we could say, okay, he could have done so that Nigeria could have been different to avoid that military intervention, was maybe he would have been more firm in emphasizing his decisions or his aspirations for Nigeria. He would have been stricter than he was. He would have been more demanding in terms of peace and resolution of conflict and harmony in the country, he would have shown low tolerance for disunity and turmoil in Nigeria. What I mean by that is, you see, the issue in the Southwest as at that time, it is largely acclaimed that he never handled it well. And already there were existing rivalries all over the Southeast, the Southwest, but that one in the Southwest escalated. And so because he didn't manage it well, the military at that time felt Nigeria is falling apart. And for them, that time, they were feeling they were saving Nigeria. I want to give you a little sneak peek into the military mindset that time. They were feeling, no, we need to save Nigeria. So let us come in. That was their mindset. Let's save Nigeria from these weak politicians that are not getting things going. In their usual manner, they will tell you they are coming in to clear the audience tables and return normalcy and then go back to the barracks. So that was what they thought they were trying to do, because they felt, no, these leaders are not managing this country well. Let us come in and clear the airwaves and then restore normalcy, make sure everything is, there's a perfect structure that is running, and then we go back. So if you look at it in this light, to look as though, yes, indeed he was not, and indeed I really feel from my studies, he was not very strong-willed in addressing the situations at hand internally in the country. So if he was firm and more strict and very resolute in resolving these issues, I don't think it will lead to that military intervention. The military will still be in the barracks. They won't contemplate intervening in politics. They won't, because if you look at, as at that time when that assassination took place, military intervention was common in Africa. A lot of countries across West Africa were also experiencing military intervention. And what was the military's excuse? They tell you these civilians are corrupt, they are not keeping the country in good shape, they are not, so we are going there to restore normalcy and go back. So the military in Nigeria felt, if it's the same thing, maybe it's the same thing in Nigeria too. Let's go in there and clear it and so they struck. So for him, it felt as though he was looking at the waves of military intervention across West Africa and other parts of Africa, and then the internal crisis happening in Nigeria. He didn't manage all of it well. He was not decisive and very resolute. If he was more firm, he could have avoided the military from intervening and even leading to his assassination.
Because actually, he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. They say armed forces are rose up against him. Of course, not only him. This have been happening in many other places. Like the United States, with the assassination are almost countless of prominent people in politics. But only that, they are usually different. Even like the one that happened in Ghana, maybe they tried a similar thing was what was planned in Nigeria. Only that it happened differently, in that it was not carried to a fruition, so it led to it become even more dangerous now than if it had happened. But in overall, it is difficult after you take the life of another person and you start to talk, okay, let's forget it. Because yes, but let's forget it. But are you able to bring back the life that you have taken? Because life has too costly to be taken just like that. So assassination, killing people in power, is not something very simple to understand. There are consequences for that.
But let me cut you a little bit, sorry. This thing you're saying now, it's very difficult for the military to understand, because in their training, remember, they are trained to kill. They are trained to kill anything they perceive as the enemy. So once you are being perceived, I'm not saying they are correct. I'm just trying to give you an insight to their mindset. They are trained to kill. They are under oath to do anything to defend the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of where they belong. So for the case of Nigeria. So for them now, anything they feel is a threat to Nigeria, they feel it is their duty to defend it. Defending it means they could kill, they could spill blood, they could cause damage. If it's in the name of defending the sovereignty of Nigeria, they will do it. Normal. And for them, they are just being professional. But for us as civilians, of course, So I'm just trying to give you an insight into their mindset. That's why, just go ahead.
Oh, well, and that can even be very interesting, okay, that they try to defend the constitution, let's say so, because it's the constitution that set up the military too, because without the Nigerian constitution, there is no, the politicians are just ordinary people, the military, the police, everybody is equal, no? Because everybody is the same. If that was the case, they killed the prime minister, and then, of course, the president become the head of state, and so they will rearrange the system again.
Yeah.
But we see that the military coming in now. Okay, we are not going to talk about the military culture in Nigeria. It's an argument that we're also going to talk about because it's very interesting. Because for a very long period, 37 years or so, we'll be having military running the system. We see them coming to stay. Not that they come to rectify the error, like the one that happened in the United States, where they assassinated the president. Of course, election need to be done. And of course, it's a complex system, but of course, we see that the military doesn't come and take over now. Because I don't think the military are actually trained to administer complex system that we have, no? Become head of state, having election. Because the logic is completely different. I think I was asking you before, what are his leadership quality? Because that is important for us. What do you consider to be his leadership quality?
Okay, so I would liken being a student of Nigerian politics, I'm going to liken the qualities of Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa to somebody currently in our political reality right now, which you may find funny. I liken Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa to former President Goodluck Jonathan. Yeah, I see them in the same light. They are not the same people, they are not. But when it comes to their political leadership style, traits, aspirations for Nigeria, and their will in execution, I find them very, very similar. Very similar.
In what sense? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I'll break it down. Now, when it comes to the willpower in executing tough decisions, they were lacking, both of them. When it comes to addressing domestic issues in the country, they were lacking, both of them. For Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, he didn't manage the crisis in the Southwest very well. He did not. He scored very low in his approach because he was too cautious, too careful, which is a good thing. But when you say something's too much, it's already bad. So it's good to be cautious, but he was too cautious. He was too careful. That did not allow him to be firm in resolving that conflict. The same way with Goodluck, that he was not very firm in tackling the insecurity in Nigeria at that time, even though he did his best. But it was one of the things that people used to vote against him, which is the same thing with Tafawa Balewa. People used it to say this guy was not firm. The military now said, no, let's come in. And because immediately came all those crises in the South, everything died down. Like, because when the military came on board, now, it's fire for fire. If you are not stopping, we are going to, so I put them in the same light. They were liked people because they were loyalists. They played by the book. They were not deliberate on stepping on toes to achieve what they wanted to do. No, they just like, okay, let's hold every part together, and make sure there's peace, even though everybody, their rivalry, interest and all that, but we're all brothers. Let's believe that. On the very positive side, they stood for the unity of Nigeria. It's something that Goodluck is, something that Tafawa Balewa did. Like, no matter what happens, Nigeria should still be one. And in unity, Tafawa Balewa is, I see him in that light a lot, and I see Goodluck in that too. In their speeches, you see them portray this agreeing, like this warmness that Nigerians don't have a lot. You see them embracing everybody. We're all together. We are all, one and all that. In all their speeches, you hear this a lot of the times. Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, his independence speech, his open remarks at the conference at the 1957 conference, like most of the time you hear them trying to embrace this unity that Nigeria should have. Then, lastly, positively, for Abubakar Tafawa Balewa and even for Goodluck Jonathan, they placed the country ahead of their personal interest. They placed the unity and existence of Nigeria ahead of personal interest. They never went for personal interest as such, even though they had their regional interests. Goodluck had his political godfather, the person of Edwin Clark that time, and then Abubakar Tafawa Balewa had Samuel Bello also, telling him how to go about things. They never went against those people. They never openly or privately. They were just. So these are very calm people that I feel they can embrace the whole country. I just feel like I just wanted them to be more firm and more strict in emphasizing their aspirations for Nigeria. Like, you want this to be done. If it should be done in a quiet and then also they stood for political reforms. So Abubakar Tafawa Balewa stood for Nigeria political reforms a lot throughout his administration as Prime Minister of Nigeria. He stood for political reforms. He likes reforms. If you feel there's something, let's come together and create another way around it. Same to you, Goodluck. He organized the National Confab, and then it never came into being, but we still have the documents. So that's how I see Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa a lot compared to the current political figure that we have.
Thank you so much for that. All right, now, what do you think we can learn from them? This is the real meat, actually, of the conversation, because we are looking at the life and legacy of our past hero, even if it is of the living one, but we're actually trying to see what we can take from them to learn from, because we are the one that live it today. What do you think are the real things that we can take from him as quality that we can refer to as his legacy?
Okay, so I'm going to have this real quick. For Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, he was one politician that was true to his word. Unlike what we have right now, that people are saying some things and the action is something else. What he was saying was what he was going to do. He never says it if he doesn't mean it. He was a sincere Democrat. He believed in mass opinions, majority decisions. Like, there was no time in his during his his leadership as prime minister that he was seeing something else and doing something different. He was not suspected of being corrupt for lying or misappropriation or seeing something else and doing something else. They were very sincere politicians that we lack in the Nigerian political space currently. There were no campaign lies. He was not lying to you with campaign manifestos and coming out to come and do something else. Everything was just the way he was saying them. He's not promising you what he will not do. That thing he promises he can do. Very austere and very sincere. So we need a lot of that in our political space currently, because it's part of the thing that's affecting us. Nigerians and our leaders, they know the issue, just like you mentioned earlier. I think they know all these issues. They know all the problems. But it's the solution and the application of that solution, that's where the problem is. But when it comes to identifying and recognizing the problem, our leaders know, our politicians know. In fact, they're actually using the problems to exploit the people the more, which is something that we can learn the opposite from studying the life of Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa.
I don't know if you want to add anything to conclude the conversation, because I really find it very educative.
The last statement I would like to pass is that Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was, from everything we have discussed, we really missed the fact that he didn't complete his tenure as the first prime minister we ever had, because I strongly believe with the trajectory of his leadership ascension, he would have gained a lot from his person, from his style of leadership, from his way of achieving his aspirations for Nigeria. Not just achieving them, but the manner also. I think we would have gained a lot, because we don't want to have, we're not going to have leaders that will achieve aspirations in the same way. So somebody else may come and be dogged in approaching their results. Some other people may come and be calm and peaceful and harmonious and still achieve. So he represents this calm and peaceful part in achieving his aspirations for Nigeria. So we miss that part, and we hope that our politicians will emulate this part of him, and let's see it in the future.
Thank you so much, dear Philip. It has been a pleasure on my part. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir, Mr. Obehi. Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.